full of smoke, and Dane had lost his chance to do what he wanted with his own damn life. He'd lost that big Montana sky. And he'd lost his brother, his best friend. The cord hit the other end of its limit. He bounced back and forth a few more times, the motion damping out. Hiding the expression on his face, he used his corded jackknife from the waist, shooting the double thumbs-up sign at his guys. They hauled him to the top again, and he bumped shoulders and fists before bending to unhook his ankles from their strapping. One of the dudes caught his eye for a second too long, but Dane shook his head. Shrugging, the other guy looked away. By the time they'd all had their turn, the sun was more than halfway through its arc. A couple of the guys were making motions as if to pack up, and it was like that moment in the middle of his jump when Dane had almost lost it. His throat gave a threatening ripple. He wasn't ready to be done. "Hey," he said, "anybody want to make a run at Buck Hollow?" It was a solid hour's hike from here, and then there'd be the time it took to get set up. Another 2 hours from there to the car once they'd all jumped. It'd be tight, but they could fit it in before it got too dark. Glances darted back and forth, doubtful faces peering at him, and the clawing in his chest went sharp. "I don't know, man," someone said. "I got work tomorrow." "Fuck work." Dane spat the words. And it didn't make sense. He had a good job, a great job. It paid awesome. The perks were out of this world. For a second, he couldn't stop thinking about one particular perk. Lexie, a hot little number with fire in her stare and an ass that wouldn't quit, long legs and perfect tits, steel in her spine and a hidden softness to her he'd caught only the barest glimpses of. He wanted to see if she'd purr for him, if he could manage to pull the giant stick out of her ass with a crowbar, or with a couple of nice heavy swats, or a flick of his crop. Fat chance of her ever letting him, of course, at least as long as she was still his boss, a couple of years younger than his 26 and already on her way to running the world, and seemingly intent on taking him with her. His gut twisted all over again, the vice around his ribs squeezing hard. Fuck work. Fuck the life his brother had left him with. Fuck his mother's shitty house in Queens, and fuck his boss. The idea of going back to it all, of going inside and putting on that goddamn suit and breathing stale, recycled air for another week. He hefted his pack onto his shoulder and jerked his head toward the pass that would take them even farther from their cars. "So?" He said it like a challenge and like the most desperate kind of plea. "Who's with me?" More uncertain glances. Then, finally, "Okay." One head nodded, and then another, and all the air rushed out of him in a whoosh. "Okay," he said. Clapping the nearest guy on the shoulder, he repeated it, but like a lifeline. Like the single strand of cord tied tight around his ankles, the only thread between him and a watery death 1,000 feet below. He breathed out hard. "Okay." One more climb. And one more jump. A handful more hours between him and the rest of the week, and he was so grateful for them he could have cried. Instead, he hitched his pack a little higher. Turning toward the trail, he led the way. "Okay, so here's the thing. I have a theory, and I just need you to tell me if I'm right or wrong." Alexis Bellamy didn't even have to look up from her work. She'd know her brother Ryland's voice anywhere. "When did you get in this morning?" What did that have to do with anything? She glanced at the clock in the corner of her screen. It was just past 9. "A couple of hours ago?" She shrugged. "It's Monday. I got a late start." "Uh-huh. You realize that most people don't get here until, now, right?" "I'm not most people." "Clearly. So here's my theory. I think you never actually go home." Ryland summarily dropped himself down onto the couch on the other side of her new office, and she winced internally in sympathy. It was the kind of furniture meant to keep unwanted visitors from staying too long, pretty as hell, but hard as a rock. Sure enough, he made a pained sound and groaned. "Ugh, never mind. I take it back. No way you sleep on this thing." Hiding her smirk, she kept on scrolling through her inbox. Maybe I just don't sleep. She and her brother had been having this conversation.